Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the
United States of America,
and
to
to
the
the republic
republic
for
for
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
We open the meeting for public comments. If anyone has any comments on the resolutions that aren't part of a public hearing.
I do.
Identify yourself, please.
I hope I'm not too late, but I'm going to try it anyhow. I wrote my comments down. Jim Colligan, 71 Connick Avenue. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. As you know, I've done my best to maintain a low profile since my departure from the town board. It's the first time I'm actually back here in 16 months. But based on my 8 years on the town board, there's no doubt that we are blessed with quality people who volunteer their time to serve our town committees. We are deeply appreciate their time, their effort, their expertise that they bring to the town board, and it greatly assists the board in helping us, or you guys now, make educated decisions based on their recommendations. It's also obvious to me, and to most islanders, that the water issues continue to be the major challenges facing our community and our town board. The WAC has played and will continue to play a major role in helping our community navigate these complex issues facing our drinking water. The WAC mission is to ensure adequate drinking water for the Shelter Island community that includes all areas of our community. Our water advisory committee consisted of, at least it did, 6 talented individuals, along with a very competent town engineer, Joe Fenora, who's considered, I guess, as an ex officio member, and they all play a critical role in helping the town achieve its mission. I was a town board member who voted in favor of reducing the WAC to just 5 members. And I know that to be true. And in retrospect, I thought it was a bad decision on my part, and that of the entire town board. The vote was 5-0. The committee definitely has a very full plate, including ensuring that the town wells are constantly monitored and developing all the baseline data associated with that. In addition, they have developed a drought restriction plan that is excellent, a 17-point water plan that also has the input from the town engineer and with the town board. They have continued to identify and utilize best practices in maintaining drinking water, as well as making best use of available science. They have done an admirable job educating our public concerning our water issues. This is a committee that has been blessed with quality volunteers that have served our community well. At least that's my opinion. As everyone knows, our town board members also serve as liaisons, which you all do, to all our town committee boards, which are a total of 20 now. So it's a lot of extra work that are on the town board. Most of them have 2 members assigned to each committee. The primary role is to attend their meetings and to keep their fellow town board members appraised of the highlights of those meetings. They also quietly evaluate individual committee members and the chairperson as to the contributions and work performed as committee members. When it comes to finding shortfalls with individual members, they should privately counsel. And we've always done that. We've taken the side of a phone call, gone to the house and counseled them. I had to do that on many occasions. This most commonly happens due to poor attendance, and I would say that 90% of the time I had to do it was result of poor attendance. But it also may happen if a committee member becomes disruptive or counterproductive at meetings. Obviously, the committee mission, statement, and goals, as well as the meeting agenda, should serve as the focal point that drives fruitful discussion amongst committee members. It is the function of the liaison to advise their town board colleagues if a committee member should not be approved for future service on the committee. This would be discussed privately in closed session. At least that's the protocol that we've had in past practice. To the best of my knowledge, that should be proper protocol. It is my hope that here on Shelter Island, we have a town government that embraces mutual respect for all town employees, including our volunteers, who serve proudly as the town board, on town boards and committees. This starts with the way in which starts basically with you guys, the way you treat one another. There's a growing feeling in our town, and I'm being very respectful here, that too many occasions, decisions are being made along party lines. It's just my feeling. That was the furthest thing from my mind during my 8 years on this board. If we dislike what's happening in Washington, D.C. amongst Democrats and Republicans, we should learn that nothing of value gets accomplished when we vote strict party lines. This was clearly demonstrated when the town board early last year could not or would not fill the vacant fifth town board seat. 11 qualified people stepped forward to be interviewed for that seat. It became quickly obvious that the town board could not reach consensus and chose to leave the seat vacant for the full year. I will remain respectful and not speculate why this was done, but it was upsetting to our community. I'm not the only one that feels this way. I'm telling you, there are a lot of people that were very upset by not filling that seat. Please, on behalf of our community, learn to be respectful. That includes being open and honest with one another. There can be no room for hidden agendas. Becoming a productive team that is focused on getting things done in a timely fashion. If you do, when you walk down the streets of Shelter Island, people will thank you for a job well done. I realize that it's a difficult task. I sat up there for 8 years. It's tough. But I just felt I had to come and say this. I'm not speaking as a Democrat, I'm not speaking as anybody, just speaking as a concerned citizen. We can do better. I just get the feeling that the five of you are good people that need, in my opinion, to work a little bit more, be more respectful of one another and learn to give and take and compromise a little bit more. Just a feeling that I have. I thank you for your time and effort. Hope it's not too late. Again, if you want to go from 7 to 5, that's your business. It's a tough committee. They cover a lot of territory. I always thought that 2 heads were better than 1. I thought 7 heads were better than 5. That's why I brought up the mistake that I made as a town board member, reducing the committee from 7 to 5. This is not about who you're taking off and who you're putting on. I'm not qualified. I'm not up there making that decision. But I just mean that when people are asked to leave a board, it should be done in a respectful manner, at a timely fashion. And why are you being asked not to serve any longer? It just has to be. We owe it to them to give a proper explanation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Bert?
Hi, Bert Waite, 9 North Ferry Road. So a couple of months ago, I think you remember, maybe you don't. I came in here and I asked for a little relief for mooring fees for people who work on the water. And Albert and Gordon, you attended a WMAC meeting that I also was there, and you heard from one of the members of that committee also state that the fees were onerous, at least to him. And you have in your 30 hours a week in the last month or so, 120 hours to discuss it, and I've heard nothing about it. But a couple of weeks ago, somebody came up to the podium here and requested some relief for some parking fees for a regatta, sailing regatta. And Ben said, hey, we should give it to them. We should give them relief for the town fees for their parking. You don't remember that, Ben? Oh, well, maybe we should go to the videotape. But you said that for the Sunfish Regatta, that's going to be held in September. Does that recall? You recall that now?
I remember. Yeah.
And I remember you said that they should, and these people should pay nothing for their parking fee to the town, where there's something in effect, and a fee that's in effect. And these are non-resident, non-taxpayers, and you want to give away the fee to them. But a couple of residents and a taxpayer comes to you and asks for some relief, and you say no, or you just ignore it, you don't do anything about it. So I guess what I'm saying, it's a little rhetorical, right? I mean, unless you want to act on my petition to you to look into it, reducing the fees, or come up with some kind of relief for the commercial fishermen in this town. And you don't even have to do it amongst yourselves. Why don't you just make a memo and hand it to the WMAC and say, hey, guys, somebody came to the town board and says, hey, we're looking for some relief. They're looking for some relief for these fees. Can you analyze what these guys are paying? And can you report back to us on if you think if there's a valid concern and something we should look at? That's my suggestion. All right? But, I'm not a sailor or whatever, and I'm not that people that come in here, and you were very enthusiastic that, about giving them the relief. And Gordon, you said, like, you held him, you said he put his fees aside, I said, well, $5. He wanted to give it for free, but you said at least $5, And the chief, he got on the TV, he said, no. Chief Reed, he said, no, the people should pay the fee, right? But, for resident taxpayer, it's a different story. That's my feeling, all right? That's what we're getting. Okay? So maybe you could help us out a little bit. And in addition to that, I'm just going to leave it right there because I was told one thing at a time for you guys. It's like all I should really say. Okay? So maybe you could let me just say this. If you could write a memo, Ben, you or Albert, and the ones who, maybe you could write a memo to Albert and to Gordon to say to take to the WMAC committee, because that maybe they should look into giving some relief to residents and taxpayer commercial fishermen like we're doing to the people who are having regatta in September and are getting that relief. I'm addressing you mainly because you're giving relief to these non-residents. So I'm asking you specifically because you had the giveaways. You're the one who's doing the giveaway. You know what I'm saying? So I'm asking you, to give away something to me and to some other commercial fishermen here. All right, so if you could write that memo, and that way you don't have to really do much except give a memo to these guys, and then at the WMAC, if they have that memo, I'll go in there and I'll explain a little further what I think we could do. But if it comes from you, maybe I think that'll help. So I'm asking you for a little support. Can you do that for me?
Can I respond?
Sure.
Do you want to address it, Troy?
Bert, what do you, I hear you, okay, but my question is, what would you suggest? You say relief, what would you
So I would
suggest?
suggest like a 35% reduction in the mooring fees for commercial fishermen who have moorings for their commercial boats in town waters. That's, okay.
And the fee currently is what?
The fee, it varies depending on how your boat is classified, or if it's a pulley line, or if it's a mooring. So it could be, if your boat's, like, it could be between, I think, $150 or $250. So, I mean, I think it should be less, than that fee, saying at least 35% off. Maybe we should go 60% off. I mean, I think you gave like 80% off to the parking people. You could go there, but, anything is better than what it is. We have multiple moorings, a lot of us, for our boats, because we have boats that do specific functions. And so it's onerous, and we'd like to see if you could reduce that for the commercial guys. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll start off with the resolutions. Albert?
Be resolved that the town board of the town of Shelter Island hereby directs that a public hearing shall be held on Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 6:03 PM to hear any and all persons either for or against a local law entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 111 Subdivision of Land, Section 111-28, and eliminating Chapter 111, Section 111-28.1 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island to require that applicants for subdivision approval pay to the town fees and deposits that are reasonable and necessary for the town to conduct its work in connection with the respective application. Be it enacted by the town board of the town of Shelter Island as follows. This local law is adopted pursuant to the authority gained by Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 10, General Powers of Local Government to adopt and amend local laws. If any section, provision, or part of this local law shall be adjudged invalid or unconstitutional in a court of competent jurisdiction, then such abjuration shall not affect the validity of the local law as a whole or any section, provision, or part thereof not so adjudged invalid, unconstitutional. This local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. Chapter 111, Subdivision of Land, Section 111-28, Fees and Deposits. B, expenses. In addition, applicants shall be liable for and shall pay to the town all of its expenses reasonably and necessarily incurred in connection with the application, including without limitation all fees, costs, and expenses for engineering, legal, stenographic services, environmental, and other consultant services, and all recording fees that are reasonably and necessarily incurred in connection with the application. C, initial deposit. The town board may from time to time by resolution establish and require deposits to be paid by applicants to secure the payment of the expenses required to be paid pursuant to this section. The expenses for which the applicant is responsible shall be deducted from the deposit as incurred by the town. D, additional deposits in the event from time to time the amount on deposit with the town is reduced to 25% of the original amount prior to the final determination of the application and receipt by the town of all invoices for the expenses required to be paid pursuant to this section. The applicant shall deposit such additional funds as may be required to restore the amount on deposit to 50% of its original amount. E, refund of unused deposit in the event that the amount of the deposit shall exceed the expenses required to be paid pursuant to this section upon final determination of the application and receipt by the town of all invoices for such expenses. The unused portion of the deposit shall be returned to the applicant.
I'm sorry, may I just interrupt for a second? There was an A that was very brief, and perhaps you didn't see it because of the portions crossed out.
I missed that, Stephen.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank
Sure.
you.
Would you like me to read it? It says, A, application fee. Application fees for subdivision approval shall be established by resolution of the town board.
So moved?
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shelter Island hereby directs that a public hearing shall be held on Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 6:04 PM to hear any and all persons either for or against a local law entitled the Local Law Amending Chapter 60, Environmental Quality Review, Section 60-10 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island to require that applicants in matters involving environmental quality review pay to the town fees and deposits that are reasonable and necessary for the town to conduct its work in connection with the respective applications. Be it enacted by the town board of the town of Shelter Island as follows. This local law is adopted pursuant to the authority granted by Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 10, General Powers of Local Government to adopt and amend local laws. If any section, provision, or part of this law shall be adjudged invalid or unconstitutional by a court of competent jurisdiction, then such adjudication shall not affect the validity of the local law as a whole or any section, provision, or part thereof, not so adjudged invalid or unconstitutional. This local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. Chapter 60, Environmental Quality Review, Section 60-10, Fees and Deposits. A, the fees for review and preparation of an EIS involving approval or funding of an action will be fixed from time to time by resolution of the town board. B, fixed fees so fixed will be consistent with the limitations set by Section 17 of Part 617 of the New York Codes, Rules, and Regulations. When EIS is prepared by an applicant, fees will reflect the actual cost of reviewing the same. When the EIS is prepared by the agency on behalf of an applicant, fees will reflect the cost of preparation, including publication of notices, but not the cost of environmental review by the agency. However, the lead agency may not charge a fee for its determination of significance. The following C, D, E, and F are the same as B, C, D, and E in the previous resolution, and it covers expenses, initial deposit, additional deposit, and refund of unused deposits. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shelter Island hereby directs that a public hearing shall be held on Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 6:05 PM to hear any and all persons either for or against a local law entitled, a local law amending Chapter 129, Wetlands, Section 129-6 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, to require that applicants for wetlands permits pay to the town fees and deposits that are reasonable and necessary for the town to conduct its work in connection with respective applications. I'm not going to read the same section on the authority granted by Municipal Home Rule Law. It's the same as the last two laws. Chapter 129 Wetlands, Section 129-6, Fees and Deposits. A, application fees for wetlands permits shall be established by resolution of the town board. Sections B, C, D, and E are the same sections on expenses, initial deposit, additional deposit, and refund of unused deposit as the last two resolutions. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
May I just, I'm sorry to interrupt again, but I just want to mention that in each case, anyone who wishes to see the full text of these local laws can do so on the town's website.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shelter Island hereby directs that a public hearing shall be held on Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 6:06 PM to hear any and all persons either for or against a local law entitled, a local law amending Chapter 109, Site Plan Review, Section 109-14 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, to require the applicants for site plan approval pay to the town fees and deposits that are reasonable and necessary for the town to conduct its work in connection with the respective applicants. To be enacted by the town board of the Town of Shelter Island as follows. The next section is the recitation of the Municipal Home Rule Law, which is the same as the prior resolutions we just read. And it goes on to read Chapter 109, Site Plan Review, Section 109-14, Fees and Deposits. Application fees for the site plan review shall be established by resolution of the town board. The next sections B, C, D, and E are the same as the prior resolutions. And if you want to see the full text of this particular resolution, you can find that on the town's website. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shelter Island hereby directs that a public hearing shall be held on Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 6:07 PM to hear any and all persons either for or against local law entitled Local Law Amending Chapter 133, zoning, zoning of the Code of Town of Shelter Island by adding sections 133-34 to require the applicants for special permits and variances or zoning changes pay the town fees and deposits that are reasonable and necessary for the town to conduct its work in connection with the respective applications. I'm going to refer to that section of local law of municipal home rule is the same as the prior resolutions, okay? And finally, on chapter 33, zoning, sections 133-34, application fees. Application fees for the applicant pursuant to this chapter shall be established by resolution of the town board. Items B, C, D, and E are the same, and they will be listed on the town website. So move.
Second.
Just discussion. I just want to note that it's section 133-34.1,
Okay.
just for clarification. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas Section 808 of the General Municipal Law authorizing the governing body of each town to establish a board of ethics to act with respect to officers and employees of the town. And whereas Town Code Section 8-18 Board of Ethics provides the pertinent part that the Board of Ethics shall include at least one member who is a town employee. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shelter Island directs that a public hearing shall be held on Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 6:08 PM to hear any and all persons either for or against a local law entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter Ethics. Section 8-18 to provide that no member of the Board of Ethics shall otherwise be an officer or employee of the town. Being enacted by the town board of the town of Shelter Island as follows. This local law adopted pursuant to the authority granted by Municipal Home Rule, Section 10, General Powers of the Local Government to adopt and amend local laws. It shall supersede and prevail over any conflicting provision of state law, including but not limited to General Municipal Law, Section 808(3), relating to the composition of the Board of Ethics within the territorial jurisdiction of the town of Shelter Island. If any section, provision, or part of this local law should be adjudged invalid or unconstitutional by a court of competent jurisdiction, then such adjudication shall not affect the validity of the local law as a whole or any section, provision, or part thereof not so adjudged invalid or unconstitutional, nor the validity of any action theretofore taken by the Board of Ethics. This local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. Section 8-18 Board of Ethics. Article 18, Section 808 permits the creation of a town board of ethics, also referred to as Ethics Board. This code hereby authorizes the creation of such a board. The town board believes that an independent ethics board will assure the public interest in applying this code without bias or favoritism. B, the Board of Ethics shall consist of 5 members, all of whom reside in the town of Shelter Island, and who shall serve without compensation to be appointed by the town board for staggered 5-year terms. No member of the Board of Ethics shall otherwise be an officer or employee of the town. C, conditions of Board of Ethics membership. Number 1, no person may be appointed as a member of the Ethics Board who is a current elected town officer or an officer of any local, county, or state political party, association, club, or independent political committee subject to regulations of the state election law, or a campaign manager, consultant, or treasurer for a political party, committee, or individual election campaign committee, or has served in such political capacity during the past 24 months. Number 2, an ethics board member shall promptly resign if entering a campaign race as a candidate for public office, or as a campaign manager, consultant, or treasurer for a political party, committee, or individual election campaign committee, or when recusal has become prevalent for such individual for matters before the Board of Ethics. Number 3, an ethics board member may be removed for cause by the town board upon any of the following grounds. A, failure to meet the qualifications set forth in section A-19 of this chapter, or B, substantial neglect of duty, or C, gross misconduct in office, or D, inability to discharge the powers or duties of office, or E, a violation of this chapter. D, the Ethics Board shall have the following substantive authority: favor or in opposition to the proposed application. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
I'm sorry, I just want to note that there was a continuation on the top of
Yeah.
the next page.
Yeah,
But once again, that portion was not a change to the existing code, and the local law is available for viewing on the town's website. So I don't think it's necessary to read it.
Thank you, Steve.
Did you have a second vote on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm getting confused here.
Whereas Kenneth Conrad, 24 Dino Rock Road, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to install a mooring at location designated as 41.074555 degrees north and 72.31661 west, formerly occupied by the Ted Clark C-2644 mooring. Now therefore be resolved that pursuant to section 90-5 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, a public hearing will be held at 6:10 PM prevailing time on the 19th day of May, 2025, in the Shelter Island Town Hall, Shelter Island, New York, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to the proposed installation. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Whereas the town of Shelter Island wishes to amend the proposed use of Suffolk County Community Development Block Grant 2024 funds by transferring $60,000 from construction costs for ADA compliance at the police department toward the 2024 ADA ramp at handicapped access to the Shelter Island Country Club. Now therefore be it resolved, a public hearing shall be held at 6:11 PM prevailing time on the 19th day of May, 2025, for all interested persons in favor of or in opposition to the proposed amendment. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas Bradley and Brett Copens, 32 Little Ram Island Drive, have petitioned the town of Shelter Island for a wetlands permit to remove existing constructions and septic from within regulated area. All new constructions to be landward of the regulated area as per plans submitted by Matthew Sherman, last revised 12/12/24, 1/22/25, and approved by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, 4/7/24. And now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to section 129-7 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, a public hearing will be held on the 9th day of June, 2025 at 6:02 PM prevailing time in the Shelter Island Town Hall, Shelter Island, New York, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to the proposed application. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
be it resolved that Peter Dinkle is hereby appointed to serve as a volunteer driver for the Senior Center Nutrition Program for the year 2025, effective May 5th, 2025. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas the town board wishes to conform the membership of the Water Advisory Committee to its previously established membership size, and whereas the town board wishes to increase the independence of the Water Advisory Committee by removing the town engineer as a member, and whereas the town board wishes to stagger the terms of the membership so that all members do not expire at the same time, and so that future appointed members will serve for fixed terms of 3 years. Now therefore be it resolved that the following individuals are hereby appointed to serve for the following respective terms: Peter Grant for a term to expire on April 28, 2026, Greg Toner for a term to expire on April 28, 2027, David Ruby for a term to expire on April 28, 2027. Andrew Chapman for a term to expire on April 28, 2028. And Sean Davy for a term to expire on April 28, 2028. And be it further resolved that the town engineer shall serve as an advisor to the Water Advisory Committee. And be it further resolved that Andrew Chapman is appointed as chair of the Water Advisory Committee to run conterminously with the term of membership. So moved.
What's the second?
Second? Did you say second?
Oh, yeah, happy to, but it's
Okay.
normally the next person in line.
I would prefer not to.
Discussion?
So,
My comments are not meant to disparage any of the new members coming on. I think they're all good people, and I think they will all do a good job. What I do object to in this resolution is that I think that we should have formalized the committee at 7 members, not 5 members. And I also would not have eliminated some of our experienced board members, some who brought experience, relevant experience, such as local water district experience or 15 years of experience, and did some actual well monitoring tasks. To just cut them loose, I disagree with. And lastly, whenever I've been doing appointments for committees, for committee members, I've been using a random number generator to put names in a list, and then random number generator to pick the terms, so that we're not stacking the terms in any fashion, and that is also not done as well. So I will be voting no, because I disagree with what we're doing here. But again, I want to just reiterate that it's not to disparage the people coming in, it's just I'm not happy with this process.
well, as we discussed earlier today, the reason we only made one change on the random number generator for the staggered terms, and that was because Greg Toner ended up with the 1-year term, and if he is elected in November, that would make it difficult for us we'd be appointing someone to fill his spot in January for 3 months, and that just didn't make any sense.
But then
So,
they could be reappointed.
well, at least now they'll be appointed for over a year. And that's the only reason we made that change. On the 5 to the 7, it wasn't officially 7, it was 5, and we're bringing in a new chair. And I was in favor of this because we'll let the new chair settle into the job. And if that new chair determines that 2 more people are needed, I'm sure he will let us know, and we can expand it at that time. So let's let the new chair get his feet under the desk and see how that goes. And it'll be the people we have appointed and the committee, the new committee as formed, seems very capable, and we're excited for the job that we expect them to do. And I fully stand ready to support them in anything they want to do. And that's why I'm voting for this.
I agree with Amber. I think that 7 members on the committee was a good number. I think that the committee has a lot of work to do, and it's better when you have more people, more hands make for lighter work. I think we could have come to a compromise for 7 people, and we could have some of the members of the committee who have significant experience and contribute quite a lot of knowledge. So I think with 7 people and making Joe a advisor to the committee instead of a member of the committee, we could have accommodated new members and kept the old members and had just a more robust, knowledgeable committee because we had more people. So I'm going to vote no on this.
Any other discussion before I take the vote?
Sorry?
Any other discussion before I close it to take the vote?
No, I guess the comment that I'd like to make, okay, is that I don't think this is any disrespect to anybody. I think that sometimes, okay, and I am only relating to my own experience in community preservation, bringing new people on board sometimes adds something to it, okay? I don't think there was anything meant in disrespect, okay, or that people didn't do their job. But I'm in favor of this, okay? And there's nothing, I think this is to the 5 members, I think it's a good idea, okay? And I think very similarly, that if it needs to be expanded, I think it can always it can always be expanded, okay? But I support this decision, this resolution.
I support it as well. Not on political grounds, as I'm sure is being insinuated. Not on political grounds, but how I feel this would be a more effective committee.
I wasn't insinuating it on political grounds. I stated my reasons. All right. I'll close discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion carried.
I have a hand up. I don't know if that's appropriate.
It's not appropriate.
Be it resolved that where did it go?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Be it resolved that pursuant to Chapter 26 of the Town Code of the Town Board hereby sets the application fees for commercial activities on town property as follows. Commercial trucks, $350. 10 by 10 space, $350. 20 by 20 space, $500. Sorry. Transient use, 1 day per week, no more than 2 hours each day, $50 per season. Transient use, 2 days per week, no more than 2 hours each day, $100 per season. So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
We didn't add $50 for the boxes. Did we want that on here or no?
Oh, I thought we didn't.
I
Yeah.
don't remember. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
We don't want it.
It was decided that, no one was in favor of it, okay, so we
It seemed like
passed
too
on.
much. Okay, yeah. Just confirming that.
Yes. Yeah, that was, I went back and watched the tape.
Okay.
Whereas the town of Shelter Island maintains reserve funds for specific purposes, and whereas it has been determined that it is in the best interest of the town to transfer funds from an existing account at Chase to an account at the NY class, and whereas the account at Chase to be transferred is as follows: Ambulance Equipment Capital Reserve, account number ending in 6190. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the transfer of funds from the aforementioned Chase account to an NY class account to be established. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be it resolved that the following 2025 budget transfers are hereby approved. $47,312.03 from the Highway Capital Reserve to Highway 2025 EA 9950.0 Highway Capital Projects and Equipment for the fourth and final installments to First Citizens Bank for the 2022 Hyundai wheel loader, $991 from the 2025 B8030485 WAC water level monitoring to 2025 B8030.483 WAC communications to restore transfer not needed to cover USGS contract shortfall. $260 from A1221.101 Human Resources overtime to A1220.107 Supervisor overtime to cover overtime incurred for clerk coverage of town board work session. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. Be it resolved that the 2024 budget transfers are hereby approved. $70 from the 2024 A1480.484 green options to the office and miscellaneous of A1990.400 contingency reflect proper rollover from the 2024 Green Options Grant not fully expended. $165 from A 1010.496 Town Board, Association of Towns, to A 1010.475 Town Board, Drug Testing. $1,200 from A 1110.104 Justice Court, to clerk time, overtime, to A 1110.410 Justice Court Interpreter. $35 from A 1010.484 Town Board, to Office and Miscellaneous at A 1220.484 Supervisor and Office Miscellaneous. $25 from A 1010.492 Town Board, to School Travel Mileage A 1220.484 Supervisor School Travel Mileage. $350 from A 1355.491 Assessors, to contracts at A 1355.484 Assessors Office Miscellaneous. $430 from A 1010.496 Town Board, Association of Towns, to A 1420.492 Attorney Training and Conference and Travel. $45 from A 1490.414 Public Works, Town Hall and other buildings, to A 1620.408 Buildings and Repair and Maintenance. $2,175 from A 1490.410 Public Works, Grounds Maintenance, to A 1420.423 Buildings Electricity. $1,860 from A 1490.425 Public Works Non-Highway Tree Maintenance, to A 1620.423 Buildings and Electricity. $9,000 from A 3120.124 Police Unused Vacation and Sick Time, to A 3120.100 PS Police Personnel Services. $1,050 from A 3120.1001 Police Longevity, to A 3120.100 Police PS Police Personnel Services. $3,000 from A 3120.200 Police Equipment, to A 3120.482 Police Boat Gas and Oil. And $200 from A 3120.200 Police Equipment, to A 3120.487 Police Uniform Allowance. And $325 from A 7320.484 Youth Center Office and Miscellaneous, to A 7320.483 Youth Center and Phone and Cable. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be resolved that the following 2025 budget modification is hereby approved. $2,343.65 increase to the 2025 A4389 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Revenue Account to be funded by the reimbursement from the U.S. Department of Justice, and a $2,343.65 increase to the 2025 A3120.487 Police Uniform Expense Account. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $1,317.07 from the A1110.440 Justice Hall contracts to Car Business System for the copier contract base rate charge for the 2028, for the 2/28/25 to 2/27/26 billing period for the XER XWC 5330 copier. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Oh, sorry, I thought you were saying. Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $4,200 to East End Computers LLC for the Justice Court, EMS, and Highway Department Sonic Wall Security Services with a contract term of 1/1/2025 to 12/31/2027. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
be resolved that the 2025 general claims numbered 573 through 761 in the amount of $227,836.37. Highway claims numbered 54 through 70 in the amount of $66,004.33. Community Preservation Fund claims numbered 7 through 10 in the amount of $15,090.16. And Water Quality Improvement Fund claims numbered 11 through 12 in the amount of $41.75 are hereby approved for payment as audited, and the supervisor and/or any town board member is hereby authorized and directed to sign the approval for payment of same. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And a last agenda insert that we got late in the day. I have on LoSAP, and the reason we need to do it today is because we have to submit this by May 1st. So be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shelter Island does hereby approve the service award program list of 2024 volunteer ambulance workers of the Shelter Island Volunteer EMS filed in the town clerk office on April 28, 2025, and be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to execute a certified copy of this resolution and forward to the EMS director with the certified list for the required posting. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, that concludes the resolution part of our meeting. We will now move on to public hearings. And Amber was having trouble with her internet connection. She is at a town clerk's conference, and so she was going to Zoom in, and now she's having issues Zooming in from the hotel. So I'll read the public hearing. The town board of the town of Shelter Island hereby calls for a public hearing to be held on the use of WQI funds towards the Cornell Cooperative Extension 5-year agreement for the Shellfish Hatchery and Nursery. And I'll just preface it. We are looking to execute, well, first of all, the Shellfish seeding program, which Kate Rossi Snook is here and can talk more about the particulars of the program, but over the years, we have on an annual basis for the past, well, in 2022 and 2023, funded this program out of WQI funds. And so every year we have to do a public hearing in order to expend the funds, because that's how our WQI expenditures are set up. So what was suggested in the amounts, in 2022, it was $10,000. In 2023, it was $12,500, or $12,000 even. And then 2024, there was no agreement put in place. It just sort of got overlooked. However, Cornell did come in and actually execute a program for us. So what we want to do is execute a 5-year memorandum of understanding at the fixed price of $12,000 per year, so that for 2024 through 2028, we can just continue this program and operate it without having to do this public hearing process every year. So that's what we're looking at for today. And Kate is here. If you want to just tell a little bit about the program for the public.
Kate Robinson, Cornell Cooperative Extension. So it's funny, I realize that we always say this town seed enhancement program has been going on for over 20 years, but I'm realizing it's actually probably over 30 years now. And it's just an agreement that CCE has had with Southampton, Southold, and Shelter Island, where we seed shellfish, individual oysters, hard clams, and bay scallops, so we have them from our hatchery. We raise them in the nursery setting, and when they're old enough and big enough to be seeded, we plant them in open harvest water. So it's to enhance and maintain the harvest, as opposed to just to really delineate, because I'm up here a lot, more of the enhancement restoration aspect of the work that we do. This is really for people to continue to harvest these shellfish species. So yeah, with the trying to shift to the 5-year agreement, it's just to kind of streamline and not have to do this every year, but also for budgeting on both sides. So we've had issues with, as Amber said, the agreements being overlooked or whatever. So now if we know that for the next 5 years, we can count on $12,000 being dispersed and I think we agreed that it was going to be towards the beginning of the year. And then I'd come in, and after we do all the seeding, give the final report of what and where we planted. And then we can kind of plan for the next year, and know, okay, this is what they're giving. This is kind of the amount out of, what we produce. This is what's going to Shelter Island. If there's any questions.
The only other
I
thing,
do have a question, Kate. All the East End towns, all the 5 East End towns participate in this program?
No, just the 3, Southampton, Southold, and Shelter Island. East Hampton, they have their own town shellfish hatchery where I used to work. So that's already
Separate,
funded
okay.
by the town monies, Riverhead.
Great, thank you.
the other thing that's in the agreement is just that the total annual commercial value of the seed deployed would be up to approximately $25,000. So
Yes, yeah, looking back at our past records, I was like, oh wow, they've been getting quite a deal, but happy to keep advocating for that being the way
Ask for
this
more money.
year.
So any other questions from the table? Any questions from the public on Zoom? We've lost the rest of our audience in person.
There is a hand raised, Supervisor.
Yes, that hand was raised for a general public comment when we were discussing one of the resolutions. So when we close the regular part of the meeting, then I'll open it up to general public comment. And Sean, just let me know if you actually have a question about this particular public hearing. I'm going to presume that that's no questions on this one. Okay. So if there's no more public comment, I will close this hearing. I'll entertain a motion. I'll make that. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you so
Thank you.
much, guys. So then communication for the dispersal.
We will, it's on the agenda, it's on the agenda for the work session tomorrow.
Okay,
And then we'll do a resolution if everyone's in favor of it. The town boards, if 3 out of 5 on the town board are in favor of this, then we will pass a resolution at the May 19th meeting.
okay. Would you like me to be here for that? Okay.
No.
Okay, yeah, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Not controversial.
Okay. We're going to reconvene the public hearing on, let me just find it. Isabel Catherine Reichart Deesh, 10B Club Drive. We had opened the public hearing last time, but we did not have the report from the waterways.
You haven't done anything, look it up. Just read it.
You can just read it. This is Isabel Catherine Reichart.
Well,
It's first.
yeah. WMAC unanimously approved this application. 6-0.
I don't see anyone here to present on that one. Do we have any questions on the application itself? It was straightforward.
It's a bulkhead, yeah, it was just a
Yeah.
Straightforward.
bulkhead application. We didn't have any concerns about it.
I will close that, I'll make a motion to close that public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right, we will reconvene the public hearing on the application of Karen Liskers, Mayor, 66 Gonick Drive. Again, we opened that public hearing last meeting. We did not have the report from the Waterways Committee at that time.
The WMAC unanimously approved this application 6-0.
I do see that Karen is on. I don't know if she spoke last time. I don't know if there's any additional comments. I'll presume that's a no unless she lights up. Any other questions from the table?
This was another straightforward bulkhead.
Any other any questions from the public? Again, there's no one in the physical audience, so anyone on Zoom. Okay, I'll make a motion to close that public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. The next one is reconvening the public hearing on the site plan application of Gardeners Bay Country Club, 12 Dinah Rock Road. The applicant requested that we adjourn that hearing until the next town board meeting on May 19th. So I will make the motion to adjourn that.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
One of the sort of action items that came out of our last discussion about this was to have an inspection course. So how do we even?
Let's talk, we'll put that on, we'll discuss that at the work session tomorrow. We'll have staff available to find out where things stand.
No problem.
That was it for the public hearings. We, anticipating that there might not be any comments on the two bulkhead applications, we have resolutions drafted. So I think we left off with you, Benjamin, so Gordon, you would be next up.
I'm sorry, which one?
The resolutions after the public hearing?
Here we go.
Hold on a second. Okay, whereas Elizabeth Catherine Reinhardt Deesh at 10B Club Drive has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to remove an existing stairs leading from the bulkhead to the beach and remove and dispose of 144 feet of existing bulkhead, construct 144 feet of new bulkhead consisting of 125 feet of face with a 19-foot return, install a rock armor in front of the new existing bulkhead consisting of 1 row of 2-ton rock on bedded stone, remove and dispose of the existing 26-foot 6-inch by 6-inch retaining wall and a 36-foot by 6 by 6 retaining wall, construct a 26-foot stone retaining wall and a 36-foot stone retaining wall consisting, I'm repeating it again. Okay, consisting of 1 to 2 ton stones, remove and dispose of 74-foot of jetty, construct a 72-foot jetty in kind in place, construct a new staircase leading from the bulkhead to the beach in kind, in place, all per plans and submitted by Costello Marine Corp., last revised November 27th, 2024, and approved by the New York State DEC on February 6, 2025. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 7th and 28th of April 2025 for all interested persons to be heard in favor or of opposition, now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to New York NYCRR 617.5 C2, this application is deemed a type 2 action. Reasons supporting this determination: the proposed construction, 1, will not cause or obstruct into the navigable channel or interfere with navigation. 2, it will not adversely affect the public's right to use town waters or land under the town waters. 3, it will not adversely affect shell fishing grounds or any other or aquatic wildlife which may exist in the immediate area. 4, it will not adversely affect the quality of the tidal wet waters, shoreline, and beaches. And 5, will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent residents. And be it therefore resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned construction as per the specifications filed after said application pursuant to section 53-9 of the Code of the Shelter Island, the Town of Shelter Island, has filed with the town clerk a certificate that the owner has at least $300,000 in liability insurance on the location and the operations covered by the said permit, a copy of a contractor's current home improvement contractor's license, and a certificate from the contractor performing the operations covered by said permit, and said contractor has a owner's contractor's policy issued in favor of the town of Shelter Island in the liability limits of at least $500,000 covering the operation of the contractor pursuant to the said permit. And be it further resolved that said operation shall be completed within 2 years from the date of the issuance of this permit. And said permit is subject to the recommended limitations and any requirements that may be necessary under the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the Army Corps of Engineers, and any other agency having jurisdiction. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas Karen Lissakers, Mayor, 66 Peconic Avenue, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to remove and dispose of approximately 37 feet of the existing most seaward T&G bulkhead, construct approximately 37 feet of new bulkhead in kind in place of existing bulkhead, maintaining existing elevation of the existing bulkhead. Backfill void areas landward of the new bulkhead with clean trucked-in fill as per plans submitted by Costello Marine dated December 17th, 2024, and by the New York State DEC, June 30th, 2020. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 7th and 28th day of April, 2025, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition, now therefore be it resolved pursuant to New York NYCRR 617.5C2, this application is deemed a type 2 action. Reasons supporting this determination, the proposed construction, number 1, will not cause an obstruction into navigable channels or an interference with navigation. 2, will not adversely affect the public's right to use town waters or land under town waters. 3, will not adversely affect shellfishing grounds or other aquatic wildlife which may exist in the immediate area. 4, will not adversely affect the quality of the tidal waters, shoreline, or beaches. 5, will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent residents. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned construction as per specifications filed after said applicant pursuant to section 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, has filed with the town clerk a certificate that the owner has at least $300,000 liability insurance on a location and operations covered by said permit, a copy of the contractor's current home improvement contractor's license, and a certificate from the contractor performing the operations covered by said permit, and said contract has an owner's contractor's policy issued in favor of the town of Shelter Island for the liability limits of at least $500,000 covering operations of the contractor pursuant to said permit. Be it further resolved that said operations shall be completed within 2 years from the date of issuance of this permit, and permit is subject to the recommended limitations and any requirements that may be necessary under the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the Army Corps of Engineers, and any other agencies having jurisdiction. So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. That concludes all the resolutions for today. I will open it back up for public comments. And Sean Davey, you've been waiting a while.
You do this.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for just giving me a moment. I guess firstly, thank you for the expression of confidence in me and my appointment to the WAC. I'll certainly say it's not fun to be part of a contentious process, but I think we'll carry on for now. And excuse me if I'm not sure I missed it. I think I was listening the whole time. Was there an expression of gratitude from the town board for the service of Doug and the rest of the folks that are leaving?
Coco is preparing letters for me to sign to send out tomorrow.
And I called each member who was stepping off the WAC personally, and I thanked them in those phone calls.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. I mean, I quite honestly, I would have thought it was appropriate in a public setting, especially given kind of some contention here. So, I'll take the space up in that. I think the town thanks the members of the WAC that are leaving. They've all added and made significant contributions, and so there are big shoes to fill in. Me stepping in at this time, and I think as well, a thanks to Peter Grand. I think he is, provided significant leadership in a difficult time on water issues and deserves some recognition for doing that in a kind of bringing the discussion up to another level, whether you agree with either his views or his methodology. He's elevated the discussion and brought us to a point where we would not be without him pushing in that regard. So I'll express my gratitude. I hope the town board and the rest of the town of Shelter Island appreciates all the work that these folks have done on their behalf.
Yes, we do.
Thank you, Sean.
Mhm.
Anyone else? All right, I will entertain a motion to close the meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.